At 4:30 a.m. local time, Ukraine's first AN-196 Luty unmanned aerial vehicle roared off its launcher from a secret site near Sumy, followed by another every 20 seconds. From 3 other launch points, an additional 340 drones lifted off simultaneously in the largest coordinated strike in military history. Each AN-196 carried a 44-pound high-explosive warhead, reached a top speed of 124 miles per hour, and featured the Skynode-S AI guidance system, enabling automatic flight path adjustments amid jamming conditions. Though the initial launches proceeded smoothly, the situation would shift dramatically in just a few minutes.
Unbeknownst to them, Russian early warning radars had detected the mass launch, and 4 Iskander-M missiles were streaking toward the launch sites at Mach 5.9. With an 11-minute flight time and a 1,543-pound destructive warhead, Ukrainian operators had mere seconds to get the remaining drones airborne before the sites were obliterated. Fortunately, Ukraine's strategy would soon demonstrate why splitting this massive drone swarm into 4 separate formations proved an extraordinarily wise decision. By 6 a.m. local time, the northern force of UAVs crossed into Russia near Sutsa, dropping to 1,640 feet as the mission's most grueling phase commenced. If you support Ukraine in its fight for independence and territorial integrity, comment with the number 1.
The 95 drones from Sumy faced the longest route, curving northward to evade the S-400 systems guarding Kursk. The Skynode-S system, the AI brain controlling each drone, picked up the first signal from the 92N6E gravestone radar, Russia's most advanced tracking array, capable of detecting targets at 249 miles. This radar, with its ultra-high scan frequency, could spot small targets like cruise missiles at low altitudes, but it was hampered by terrain and electromagnetic interference. However, the AN-196's composite structure, featuring a carbon fiber fuselage, generated a radar signature akin to a large bird, rendering it nearly invisible to systems designed to detect metal aircraft.
Russian operators struggled to distinguish targets amid the clutter as the swarm hugged the terrain, its AI cross-referencing real-time sensor data with satellite imagery to maintain concealment behind hills and avoid power lines. The Skynode-S employed machine learning algorithms to optimize flight paths, continuously updating from optical and infrared sensors. One S-400 battery fired 2 interceptors at decoys before realizing the error. As the northern force cleared the engagement zone at 6:08 a.m., it lost 12 drones to navigation glitches over rough terrain, not enemy fire. "100 miles south, the southern force from Poltava entered a different kind of battle at 6:10 a.m. Russian electronic warfare units had established a 124-mile GPS dead zone along this corridor, broadcasting 500-watt jamming signals across all navigation frequencies. Russia's Krasuka-4 jamming system, able to disrupt GPS and radio communications within a 186-mile radius, posed a severe challenge to any platform reliant on satellite positioning. For conventional drones, breaching it would have been impossible. The lead Skynode-S drone detected the interference and seamlessly switched to visual navigation mode. Its camera identified the M4 highway below, matching curves to stored images. Visual navigation leveraged deep neural networks to analyze terrain features, allowing the drone to maintain under 16-foot positioning accuracy without GPS. Trailing it, 85 more drones flew in a loose formation, each performing thousands of calculations per second. They traced highways and rail lines like natural map fragments, guiding them through the electronic wilderness. The Southern Force broke clear of the jam zone, losing only 8 drones to malfunctions. Those failures stemmed mainly from rushed assembly under time constraints, which damaged flight control surfaces on several units. But what these swarms endured paled against the trial awaiting the Eastern Force. At 6:15 a.m., 4 Su-35S fighters scrambled from Voronezh Air Base, each loaded with 12 R-77 missiles to hunt drones. The R-77, with a 68-mile range and active radar seeker, was built to down distant targets, but its effectiveness dropped sharply against small, agile ones. The squadron commander split the formation, leading his wingman north while the other pair swept south. Yet the Urbis-E radar, tuned for fighter-sized targets, labored to detect the small drones skimming at just 656 feet over fields. The pilot descended to 3,280 feet, risking ground fire to close below drone altitude. This drop made the Su-35 vulnerable to lingering Ukrainian air defenses, but the Russian aviator had no alternative to acquire locks. His radar finally snagged a cluster of signals. The first R-77 streaked away, tracking true and vaporizing one drone in a small fireball. At 25 million rubles per missile versus 200,000 rubles per drone, Russia was forfeiting economic edge. The squadron expended 32 missiles, downing 15 drones before fuel compelled their return. The Eastern Force pressed on with 65 survivors. This cost disparity underscored Ukraine's doctrine: overwhelming pricey defenses with hordes of cheap drones. By 6:22 a.m., the decoy force executed its sacrificial ploy. 80 older drones, jury-rigged from commercial gear and never meant to reach Cheboksary, abruptly climbed to 16,404 feet while activating radar enhancers. These units, fitted with cheap corner reflectors, mimicked cruise missile signatures, fooling Russian sensors long enough to sow chaos. To those sensors, they appeared as high-priority cruise missiles bearing toward Moscow. Radar crews across the network reported multiple inbound cruise missiles. Every available fighter mobilized for intercept. 6 more Su-35s launched from Lipetsk, while 300 batteries activated tracking radars. This distraction gravely weakened Russian defenses elsewhere, opening doors for Ukraine's main thrusts. In 8 glorious minutes, the entire Russian air defense grid fixated on the decoys. The sacrifice concluded at 6:30 a.m. All 80 decoys perished, but they had drawn off 12 fighters and over 100 surface-to-air missiles from the true assault. As burning wreckage rained across western Russia, the 3 primary forces converged undetected. By 7:25 a.m., 180 miles from Cheboksary, the moment arrived. The Northern Force's 83 survivors linked with 78 from the south and 65 from the east, assembling an aerial army of 226 drones. The convergence claimed 115 drones, but the remainder sufficed. In 65 more minutes, Russia's premier weapons facility would confront the colossal swarm.
These drones, programmed for coordinated strikes, used optimization algorithms to prioritize high-value targets. By 8:30 a.m. local time, the first wave of 40 Ukrainian drones crested the final ridgeline before Cheboksary, instantly lighting up every air defense radar in the city. Trailing them, 186 more advanced in 4 distinct waves, spaced 90 seconds apart. 6 Pantsir-S1 systems guarding the facility confronted an impossible equation: 226 targets against 72 ready missiles and finite ammunition. The Pantsir-S1, with its RS-2 radar and 30mm guns, could engage 4 targets simultaneously, but reloading speed and target overload constrained it. The lead Pantsir's RS-2 radar nearly froze under target alerts, tracking icons multiplying faster than operators could tally. The system could strike 4 targets at once, but 40 drones already bore down on this sector alone. He loosed the first pair of 57E6 missiles at the nearest threats, knowing the math defied feasibility. The 57E6, at Mach 2.5 with a 12-mile range, excelled against small drones, but limited stocks left it powerless against the horde. The first wave executed flawless swarm tactics at 8:30 a.m. As missiles closed, groups of 4 drones scattered abruptly, up, down, left, right, forcing each interceptor to chase just one. The Skynode-S coordinated via brief encrypted bursts, synchronizing evasions. Those bursts employed frequency-hopping protocols, complicating jamming efforts. When one 57E6 detonated near a drone, the other 3 exploited the instant to slip through gaps the missile couldn't cover, then darted through those breaches. Meanwhile, the eastern Pantsir faced the second wave of 45 drones in a staggered formation. 20 flew at 1,640 feet, while 25 skimmed the ground at 160 feet. The crew grappled with an agonizing choice: engage the high, radar-friendly targets, or the low ones that could pop up unpredictably. He targeted the high group, rippling off 4 missiles. As those climbed, the low-altitude drones accelerated toward the facility. Others opted to exploit the thick white smoke trails streaking the sky. By flying along or near those trails, the drones used the smoke's heat to spoof infrared sensors, its opacity to mask visual signatures, and its particulates to cloak radar returns. This tactic leveraged the missile's own exhaust physics, degrading seeker and radar performance. To the Russian crews and sensors below, all seemed routine, but reality diverged sharply. Using the Pantsir missile's own smoke as cover, by 8:31 a.m., each system brought its twin 30mm 2A38M autocannons to bear on every sensor feed. The 30mm guns fired at 2,500 rounds per minute, but only lethally effective under 2.5 miles, relying on radar for precise cueing. 6 streams of 30mm fire wove interlocking kill zones, yet the swarm slipped through like water through mesh. The third wave, 50 drones, had absorbed lessons from the prior 2. They advanced in a loose cloud formation, constantly varying speed and altitude. When cannon fire zeroed one cluster, others surged ahead. When a Pantsir slewed to a fresh target, previously menaced drones pressed forward. The third Pantsir, its final hide exposed at 8:32 a.m., rippled 6 missiles at the fourth wave. Ukrainian planners had anticipated this. Preliminary calculations pegged 5 to 7 defenses based on the site's value. This 51-drone wave countered with synchronized countermeasures. Missile radars, built to track lone, large aircraft, faltered, locking tiny ones, mirroring moves amid radar-reflective clutter. The drones deployed mini radar jammers, amplifying returns to overload enemy scopes. By 8:32 a.m., prospects looked grim for Russia. The 6 Pantsirs had fired 38 missiles for 31 kills, an 82% hit rate, impressive enough to shred any standard raid. But 195 drones lingered airborne, now inside minimum missile range. Crews shifted to autocannons, though each system could track just one target at a time with guns. Engaging 6 targets left 189 drones unchallenged. At their speed, re-engagements offered scant chance. The swarm unveiled its true edge at 8:33 a.m., distributed intelligence. Rather than solo runs, the Skynode-S orchestrated groups of 8 to 10 drones converging on specific aims simultaneously, ensuring half-losses still guaranteed destruction. Building 2, the vital Kometa antenna assembly plant, drew 15 drones from varied angles. Even if the nearest Pantsir downed 5, 10 would impact. 12 targeted support facilities in Building 3. The main production hall pulled 20. This was no random demolition, but systematic dismantling. Ukrainian coders had woven learning algorithms into the Skynode-S. As scout drones charted successful ingress routes, they relayed data to trailing waves. The datanet used peer-to-peer links, enabling real-time sharing sans command uplink. By 8:34 a.m., the swarm had mapped every Pantsir position, reload times, and traverse limits. Latecomers tweaked approaches to exploit blind spots, threading zones meant for overlapping coverage but lacking it. The final 60 seconds witnessed the air defense net's total collapse. Pantsir crews, drilled for scripted duels with cruise missiles or jets, found themselves in a knife fight with a Hornet horde. Ammunition depleted swiftly. Each system carried 700 rounds per barrel, good for 42 seconds of sustained fire. As guns fell silent one by one, larger drone packs infiltrated unhindered. By 8:34 a.m., base defenders could only watch as over 120 drones commenced their terminal dives en masse. But true devastation loomed, unfolding faster than imagination allowed. At 8:35 a.m. local time, the lead wave of 28 drones struck in a horrific 15-second span. Buildings 2, 3, and 4 absorbed simultaneous hits, their reinforced concrete vanishing in clouds of dust and flame. The strike's precise timing denied damage control teams any reaction window. 5 separate blazes erupted before firefighters reached their vehicles. The second wave, 35 drones, hammered support infrastructure. The substation blew in a shower of sparks, while pump stations vanished in chained blasts, crippling fire suppression. Power and water loss rendered rescue efforts all but impossible, while dense smoke cut visibility below 33 feet. Emergency systems failed in cascade. Backup power, comms, and lights winked out in seconds. Chemical storage zones amplified the carnage at 8:36 a.m. Delayed fuse warheads punched through tanks before detonating, blending industrial reagents into a toxic, flammable slurry that spread across the complex. Chemicals like ammonia and chlorine, stockpiled in bulk, spawned lethal vapor clouds, forcing instant evacuations. High-pressure clean rooms ruptured, releasing volatile gases, nitrogen, argon, hydrogen, turning precision bays into fuel air bombs. By 8:37 a.m., the final wave required no finesse targeting. Below, dozens of fires merged into a single inferno. Ordnance cooking off randomly in all directions, chemical plumes drifting over Cheboksary. The last 52 drones simply picked any standing structure. Russia's premier precision weapons plant, shielded by cutting-edge air defenses, lay in ruins. The Kometa production line, nurtured over 2 decades, demanded total rebuild. Ukraine traded $68 million in drones for a strategic triumph worth billions, proving even a superpower's critical infrastructure remains vulnerable in the AI-guided swarm era. Russia's estimated losses tallied $2.5 billion in infrastructure, encompassing the Kometa line, chemical depots, and wrecked defenses. Ukraine, beyond the $68 million for 341 drones, forfeited 4 launchers worth about $10 million to Iskander-M strikes. If you support Ukraine in its fight for independence and territorial integrity, comment with the number 1.